We all know what it means to sell your soul, and we understand the stakes.
Deshaun Watson is waiving his no-trade clause only to the Browns.
How do you feel when you've relinquished something sacred and been rewarded with abject failure?
What's the catch?
The Cleveland Browns have redone Deshaun Watson's contract once again.
The Cleveland Browns made the worst trade plus contract in NFL history.
Is that trade the greatest trade in Houston sports history?
No demon enticed the Browns into signing Deshaun Watson to the biggest guaranteed contract ever in the NFL.
I'm the devil, I can do what I want.
Most people knew the Deshaun Watson contract, the $230 million fully guaranteed, was a terrible idea as soon as it was announced.
Fully guaranteed?
Whoa.
Some had hoped, prayed that maybe it would be okay, assuming Deshaun Watson could play quarterback at a top 10 level. Well, he hasn't.
For 9 total wins, all that the Browns have surrendered is $220 million.
He's been perennially injured, took an 11-game suspension to start his time in Cleveland, and has been terrible as a quarterback when he's actually on the field playing football. The Browns just converted $44.75 million of his salary to a signing bonus. I'll tell you why that's the opposite of a good thing today. And why Cleveland will continue to pay for Watson even after he's gone. And now, today, after requesting a trade over a month and a half ago, Myles Garrett wanted to talk to team owner Jimmy Haslam, who refused to even meet with Myles Garrett, which is an all-time dumb move by an owner. What makes all of this even worse, if you're a Browns fan, is that despite the bad contract, despite all the draft capital Cleveland gave away to acquire Watson, they still had a decent team. And the only thing that has stopped them from succeeding is indeed Deshaun Watson. As larger and larger dead cap hits accumulate, when will Browns fans be free? Not for a while, but we're gonna try and figure it out today. That's good sports. Today's episode is sponsored by Money. That's Rocket Money. My code is That's Good, and the link is below. Now look, I've got my mortgage through Rocket Mortgage, and I've had that for like 8 years now. So when I learned about Rocket Money a couple years ago, I signed up before this sponsorship opportunity ever came my way. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower monthly bills, manage your money, and to put simply, give you a better picture of your finances every month or whenever you use the app. The biggest feature is they help you cancel subscriptions that you don't know you're being charged for. Now, when I signed up with Rocket Money, I honestly thought, what kind of idiot doesn't know what they're getting charged for? Turns out it was me. It was me. I was that idiot. I canceled like 3 subscriptions that first day or week, and I was embarrassed that I didn't know about them, but also very happy Rocket found it for me. Rocket Money is an incredibly easy to use app, and it lays out your finances visually, which really helped me. I need to see stuff like that versus looking through a spreadsheet or my bank statements. Rocket will also help you lower your bills. They can scan your bills and notify you of what you're overpaying for, and then offer to negotiate lower payments on your behalf. Not to call out anyone specific, cable, but you can set savings goals, and I honestly like the weekly and monthly reports I get from Rocket, notifying me of subscription price increases, how I spent my money, or suspicious transactions. To try Rocket Money out today and unlock more features with premium, head to rocketmoney.com/thatsgood, or just click my link in the description below. Myles Garrett, again, requested a trade over a month ago. He posted it on Twitter and appears adamant that he wants out. Now, the entire time this has been looming, General Manager Andrew Berry has noted they have no interest in trading Myles Garrett. They're not going to take calls, which many of us thought was posturing, making sure that they keep his trade value as high as possible for this time frame, and then get a trade done right before free agency, right? When teams are ready to wheel and deal. Well, it turns out owner Jimmy Haslam may want to hold Myles Garrett hostage and hope he develops Stockholm Syndrome? Is that what you're hoping for? Now, I get the Browns not wanting to trade the face of their franchise. If he's that important to you, though, then when he requests a face-to-face meeting to discuss the trade, you take it. Jimmy Haslam not accepting that opportunity to convince Myles Garrett to stay highlights why he's a terrible owner. I think a good team owner would meet with any player who feels the need or desire to talk to them. By not meeting with Myles Garrett, this probably makes it more likely that he won't play even if you do refuse to trade him. Maybe you can't convince him to not want to be traded, but at least you could make him feel heard by showing him some goddamn respect that he has earned in spades. That could hold weight come training camp when he starts threatening to hold out. What's insane to me is that this is the perfect time to trade Myles Garrett.
Really?
The Browns would get an incredible draft haul for him.
Really?
They can draft his replacement at pick number 2, either Abdul Carter or Mason Graham. They can suck in 2025 and be in a perfect position, possibly for Arch Manning. Keeping Garrett doesn't really help the Browns right now. I think most Browns fans understand why Myles Garrett wants out. And I think the majority of Browns fans really would hope he lands with a contender, which is what he desires, which is why he wants to leave. I also understand, though, the fans that are angry that he wants to leave because he's literally all you have. And if he's there, however slim, there is a chance with a rookie QB, Cleveland could be competitive in 2025. Cleveland is both beyond fucked and also so close to being good, which is what makes this all crazy. Now, I don't want to rehash all of the details about why the Deshaun Watson trade is the worst trade and contract ever given in NFL history. We all know why. I want to highlight, though, how it's actually getting even worse, but allow me to hit the key points so I can paint the full picture, like the NFL's Bob Ross. Do I have your permission to do that today? Literally words Deshaun Watson's never said. Now, the most unforgivable part of the Deshaun Watson contract and trade is that Baker Mayfield's playing pretty damn good football in Tampa Bay. Sorry, that's the second most unforgivable part. How did I forget the Baker's dozens and dozens and dozens of allegations of sexual misconduct? The Buccaneers gave Baker Mayfield a fair and team-friendly contract, and it looks so much smarter than what the Browns have done over the last 4 years.
Great read, buddy. Great read.
We look at the Jets, Cardinals, the Bears until they hired Ben Johnson, the Jaguars as some of the most poorly run organizations in the NFL, right? The Bengals might be up there too. We'll give them a week. We'll give them a week. But none of them hold a candle to the dysfunctional mismanagement in Cleveland. The Browns quite literally took the biggest swing in NFL history and whiffed so hard that the bat blasted them in the back of their goddamn brains on the backswing, giving them the kind of CTE that makes Antonio Brown jealous. From Andrew DFS, the worst of Watson's contract has yet to come. Don't forget, Cleveland gave up 3 first-round draft picks for him. If he does not play in 2025, they'll have paid him $183 million for just 9 wins over 4 years, with another $46 million due in 2026. You couldn't make a worse trade if you tried.
Really?
We have seen a handful of other bad quarterback moves since the Deshaun Watson trade, right? Russell Wilson from Seattle to Denver, which is the most comparable considering what the Broncos had to give up to acquire Russell Wilson. But we also had the Aaron Rodgers trade to the Jets, the Kirk Cousins signing by the Falcons. I was reminded daily, though, that the Denver Broncos made a trade just as bad for Russell Wilson as the Watson trade. And at the time, since Deshaun Watson was suspended and not playing to start his time in Cleveland, it was hard to dispute. There was a chance that Watson would be good, and that would outweigh the fact that his contract was inked with the blood of Satan.
I already know what's gonna happen.
Denver handed Russell Wilson a $242 million contract extension right after acquiring him in the trade. That's $12 more million than the Browns gave Deshaun Watson. The key difference being, what was it? They only, and I say only knowing exactly how ridiculous this sounds, but they only guaranteed $124 million. When a contract is fully guaranteed, you as a franchise have no wiggle room. None. As Cleveland keeps converting money to signing bonuses for Watson, their dead cap hits keep getting kicked down the road, growing, which makes it impossible to release him. Watson didn't just tear his Achilles in 2024. He retore it this offseason, meaning he likely can't even serve as a backup quarterback in 2025. So they will pay him his $46 million this year with a $36 million cap hit while possessing a $172 million dead cap hit if they decided to cut him. Their only option is to pay him. As it stands, Watson will carry an $81 million cap hit in 2026, which they have to just swallow. Now they might be able to convert more to a bonus again and kick some more dead cap hit into voidable years or some shit, who knows. But this motherfucker is holding a roster spot through 2026 in Cleveland, no matter what they do. And maybe the most unintentionally hilarious tweet Tom Pelissero wrote, "The Browns have now paid out the vast majority of Deshaun Watson's 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract. All that's left is a minimum salary this season and a $46 million salary in 2026. Yes, Tom, just a $46 million salary in 2026. So if the Browns do draft a quarterback in April, they won't benefit from a rookie QB contract until 2027. That sounds bad, but the Broncos are in the same spot, right? Even this year, Denver still has $32 million in cap money tied to Russell Wilson. The Broncos' Band-Aid year was 2024, and they figured out a way to make the playoffs for the first time since 2015. The Aaron Rodgers trade for the Jets was as bad as a trade can get. He was injured after just 4 plays, tore his Achilles as well. When he did return, the Jets still sucked, and inexplicably got even worse. They fired their head coach very early last season. That didn't help. They traded for receiver Devontae Adams to appease Aaron Rodgers. That did not help. They granted all of Rodgers' wishes. Did not help. Not a single fucking thing worked for the Jets, and they are still in a much, much better spot than the Cleveland Browns. That's the difference between the Broncos, Jets, and Falcons when you stack them next to the Watson trade. These moves will all essentially ruin roughly 2 seasons for each organization. I mean, the Jets, they're probably going to be bad for another decade, but they're past the ramifications of the Aaron Rodgers trade. Hell, the Falcons could be good this year, even if Kirk Cousins is, say, a $40 million backup QB. At least if they pay Kirk Cousins $40 million, he could, play football for them if needed. He could play. I have no idea when Cleveland can be competitive again. I really don't. If Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are franchise-saving quarterbacks, it could be sooner than anticipated, but that's a big if. And I really don't wish the Browns on either of those quarterbacks. I wouldn't wish the Browns on Ryan freaking Leaf. We're about 1,500 subs away from hitting 715,000, trying to get to that number before free agency kicks off next week. Can we do it? How Kevin Stefanski has won head coach of the year honors twice it's beyond me.
Steven Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski.
And I think Kevin Stefanski is a pretty good head coach. I actually really like Kevin Stefanski.
Unfortunately, Steven or Kevin couldn't be here tonight.
But I think he got too much credit for Baker Mayfield just being fucking good and Joe Flacco going on a vintage 2012 Flacco run. Other than that, he and Andrew Berry have basically gotten a pass for ruining what should be a very fun time of football for Browns fans. Now, they came in together after Jim Dorsey, Hugh Jackson, and Freddie Kitchens. That era flamed out. To Stefanski's credit, Cleveland got their first playoff win since 1994 in 2020 and were an uncalled helmet-to-helmet hit away from probably going to the AFC Championship game. The reason they got that playoff win was great play by quarterback Baker Mayfield, a very strong run game with Nick Chubb, and stellar defensive play by Myles Garrett. Now, maybe they didn't have a choice. Maybe they traded for Deshaun Watson because Jimmy Haslam made them. But the fact that they are cowards and didn't speak up against it, I gotta put the blame on them as well.
Whatever it takes. Yes, sir. Okay, I got your back.
Who wanted to get rid of Baker Mayfield? That's the other question. Stefanski should have pounded the table for that man, especially after Baker gutted his way through a severe shoulder injury for all of 2021, which we all knew he was playing through. Thanks for playing hurt, Baker, but we've decided to trade for a sex pervert.
Yeah.
They didn't just trade for Deshaun Watson. They handed the Texans 3 first-round draft picks, 2 fourth-round picks, and a third-round pick. That's 6 rookies they could have drafted to build around Baker Mayfield. Then they traded Baker to the fucking Carolina Panthers so he could presumably die. It's not hyperbole when I say it's the most disrespectful player transaction in NFL history. Cleveland had the answer to the test in Baker Mayfield, and they really thought getting rid of the guy who won them their first playoff game in 26 years for a quarterback embroiled in alarming controversy was the best way to move forward with the franchise. And if they didn't think that, they didn't have the fucking balls to stand up for what they believed in.
Okay, I got your back.
We have the benefit of hindsight now, right? And every single year, it looks worse for the Browns. I keep waiting for this trade to make sense. Any amount of sense, and it never does, and it never will. The Broncos forked over 2 first-round picks as well for Russell Wilson. They fired their head coach Nathaniel Hackett after Baker Mayfield beat Denver's asses on Christmas. Less than a year into the job for Hackett, Broncos fans got to a point that we can share with Browns fans in that it seemed to just look worse every single week. But then it started to get better, and then Denver cut ties with Russ. It was tough, but they did it because they had the option to do so. As much as it sucked, it was feasible. Why Cleveland gave Deshaun the contract they did, nobody will ever know. But I'm telling you right now, aliens are studying this shit.
He's like an alien.
Football team in Cleveland outbid the Falcons for the pervert, and this has ruined them. They'll know. Here's the kicker. Through 2025, the Browns will have paid Deshaun Watson $184 million. After 2025, the deal will still have more than $135 million in cap future charges, even though he's only owed another $46 million in cash. But there's nothing they can do. And nobody would blame them if they don't draft a quarterback in this draft. Trade Myles Garrett, because by the time your team will be competitive again, like really competitive, he's gonna be too damn old. The playoff appearance in 2023 was an outlier. All kicking this money down the road does is puts the Browns in a shitty place for when they do have their next franchise quarterback, if they do have that guy ever. The Browns should be through the worst part of Watson's contract. Last year's restructure allows them to push those dead cap hits through 2029. So he has a cap hit of $81 million in 2026, $53 million in 2027, then $17 million in 2028, and $8 million in 2029. Think about a quarterback like Derek Carr, who the Saints gave too much money to. It hasn't really worked out, right? And that's okay. They took a chance. And they might have to be stuck with Carr for a season longer than desirable, and then they can reset. Cleveland has to keep Watson for 2 more seasons, no matter what. And when they reset finally in 2027, $53 million of their cap will still be allocated to him. No team will be praying for a skyrocketing salary cap year after year like the Browns. I wish I had a silver lining for you, Cleveland, but I don't. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Free agency's next week. We got a Travis Hunter video dropping this weekend, so make sure you come back here. And don't forget, hey, like this video. Did you like this? No, you probably hated this video, Cleveland, but give me a like. Give me a thumbs up.